It's D-U-E-U tell. I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.
Welcome to Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Action-packed show for you guys lined up as we enter Week 5 in the NFL. And let's get this show started by taking a look at some of the key storylines heading into the weekend as we go into our 4-minute offense. Just when you thought the Patriots may have avoided a COVID outbreak when Cam Newton was the only positive test last week, they got hit with more unfortunate news as star cornerback Stephon Gilmore also tested positive for the coronavirus. This is concerning not only for the Patriots, but also for the Kansas City Chiefs as well. Gilmore played Monday night against Kansas City, and one would assume that he was both asymptomatic and could have been shedding the virus throughout the game. That means we will probably learn about any Chief players testing positive as well. Now, New England hopes that Cam Newton, who missed last week's game versus Kansas City, can be cleared through protocols and get back out there on the field this weekend. The hope is that Gilmore's case is an isolated one or a false positive. Otherwise, we will have a repeat of last week with the Pittsburgh Steelers and Tennessee Titans. Speaking of the Titans, since Monday, they've had consecutive days with no more positive tests coming from them or the facility until Wednesday morning, where there were 2 more positive cases reported. Now that puts their game against the Buffalo Bills in serious jeopardy. Tennessee was hoping to be in the clear, but as we've seen so far this year, COVID operates on its own timeline. So the Titans will make up their game against the Steelers later on in the season, and we'll find out more about their Bills matchup as the week goes on. Now on to some more positive news in the NFL. The Cleveland Browns are 3-1 on the season for the first time in a long time. Cleveland has done it on the strength of a strong run game, solid and efficient play-action passing attack, and a defense that has done a solid job of generating turnovers and also getting off the field. They're playing a good brand of football right now. Their star players are making game-changing plays, and that's all you can ask for. And they are also getting strong complementary help from their reserves. With how they're playing and what they've done so far on the field, first-year head coach Kevin Stefanski has his guys looking like a playoff team in 2020. Another team who has surprised some so far in the first quarter of the season are the Carolina Panthers. Quarterback Teddy Bridgewater is a true point guard at the position and has gotten a lot of players involved offensively, which has made their offense very potent to start this season. Remember, this is a team that lost their star running back Christian McCaffrey in the season opener against Tampa Bay, yet they find themselves still to be productive in the run game and effective in the passing game. Over the last 2 weeks, the biggest improvement has come from a defense that has a lot of young players sprinkled all across all 3 levels. The Panthers defense has started to turn the ball over, pressure the quarterback, and minimize the big chunk plays that we saw from them in the first 2 weeks of the year. Now, this is a young football team that will continue to get better as the season rolls along, especially when they get back Christian McCaffrey, who is recovering from an ankle sprain. Keep an eye on the Panthers moving forward. They look to be gunning for a playoff spot in what looks to be a wide open NFC. We got some overtime here in the 4-minute offense as the Texans fire head coach Bill O'Brien after 7 seasons. He only had 1 losing season in Houston and is currently off to an 0-4 start to 2020. This looked bad so far for the Texans. It was ultimately Bill O'Brien, the GM, that did him in, as we've seen the Texans make some head-scratching trades since he put on that GM hat a couple of seasons ago, sacrificing the future in some regards. Now, the Texans won't have a first-round pick until 2022, and they got rid of their co-best player on the team in wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins in one of the more head-scratching trades in quite some time. Now, O'Brien is a good football coach, but clearly he wasn't able to handle the dual duties of being a general manager as well. He got the Texans to the playoffs 4 times out of 7 seasons and finished with an overall record of 52-48, coaching 100 games on the nose before they decided to move on. Now, the Texans have named defensive coordinator Romeo Crennel as their interim head coach, so we'll see if he can turn things around in Houston. Now let's take a look at some guys whose stock is all the way up and some whose stock is going all the way down. The Carolina Panthers offensive stock is starting to soar after their win over the Arizona Cardinals. The Panthers are doing a great job of being multiple, and quarterback Teddy Bridgewater is playing some of the best ball of his career. who isn't playing so hot right now, Kyler Murray. And to be honest, outside of the 49ers game to open the season, Murray's passing has been a bit erratic to say the least. They really need him to kick it up a notch moving forward. And despite the team's record, Dak Prescott is playing some outstanding football. It has been a joy to watch him make some of the throws that he's making out there on the field. He's doing his best job to keep the team in games each and every week. And the Falcons' defense is doing their best job to keep the team out of games every week. Granted, they've suffered some injuries on the back end, but this defense doesn't look good at all so far this season. Quietly, the Philadelphia Eagles lead the NFL in sacks with 17 total. Despite what the injury report says every week, the Eagles have been able to consistently find their way to the QB. Matt Patricia's stock is definitely down, and it has been since taking over this Detroit Lions team. Throughout the roster, there's talent, enough of it in my opinion, to not have a 10-35 record during the time in the Motor City. Minnesota's running back Dalvin Cook is leading the league in rushing with 424 yards. He's been a consistent presence for that Vikings offense so far this season, helping them get their first win of the year against the hapless Houston Texans. Matt Nagy made the move to Nick Foles in the Falcons game last week, and it provided a huge spark, the spark that was needed to win that game. However, this past Sunday, Foles looked just like Trubisky against the Indianapolis Colts. Now, Nagy has to get things figured out at the most important position. And it looks like the Chargers have things figured out at quarterback with the way Justin Herbert has played since stepping in for Tyrod Taylor. Herbert made some ridiculous throws last week against the Bucs, and the future looks bright, maybe as bright as those uniforms out there in Los Angeles. And there's not much you can say about the Jets offense and head coach Adam Gase other than their stock is definitely down. Gase may be in danger of losing his job as the head coach of Gang Green. Now it's time to get you guys prepared for Thursday night's matchup between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Chicago Bears. Tampa Bay's offense right now looks to be in midseason form. You're talking about a team that is getting a lot of players involved in the passing game, and their deep passing game is starting to find its rhythm. Yes, they'll be without O.J. Howard, who is gone for the season, but they do have tremendous depth at that position. So expect a guy like Cameron Brate to step up at tight end and find a way to get more of Justin Watson on the field as another receiver in that offense. But defensively, I do like how they're helping out Tom Brady. They're athletic, they're aggressive, they're turning the ball over. The communication is getting better each and every week, and so we're starting to see this defense become a big-time X factor for Tampa Bay. Now for Chicago, they made the move to go to Nick Foles, and again, it was the same results out there on game day. Offense just looked ineffective, wasting solid defensive efforts. Their defense, to me, is giving them a chance to win each and every week. So we'll see if the second game of Nick Foles as the starting quarterback can help out Chicago. I don't think that'll be the case. I do like the Bucs in this game to get the win on the road. We'll take a quick break and be back with more Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. Football Game Plan is brought to you in part by Ninth and Lux. Visit the website ninethandlux.com and check out the clothing gallery. Do You Music with featured artist IW in his latest album, Season 2. You can check that out on iTunes as well as doyoumusic.com. Nesby Phipps, art, life, entertainment. NesbyPhipps.com. Grind It Out Fitness. Visit the website grinditoutfitness.com and download the app. Be sure to order your copy of the Go-Go Offense by Coach Brennan Marion on footballgameplan.com/Go-Go Offense. Coach Marion goes through the ins and outs of his explosive offense, one that's tearing up the college football field and putting a lot of points on the scoreboard. Again, you can order your copy at footballgameplan.com/Go-Go Offense.
Yeah.
Football is a game of matchups, and matchups always dictate the outcome of a ball game. So let's take a look at some of the key matchups you want to keep an eye on this upcoming weekend. In the AFC North, Joe Burrow takes on the Baltimore Ravens, and how he deals with that Ravens pressure is going to be key. What I've noticed so far this season from Burrow is that he's taking some hellacious shots both in the pocket and outside of the pocket, and that pressure can affect the timing of a quarterback, can get him to be a little bit more jittery in the pocket. So how he handles that pressure, is able to mitigate what Baltimore is going to throw his way, could ultimately determine how much success they have out there on game day. Staying in the same division, I look at the Cleveland Browns, their offensive line against a very good defensive front of Indianapolis. I think this is the best test yet for this Colts defense. They're facing a very good, improved offensive line of the Browns, one that wants to lean on opponents and run the football. So that defensive line, led by their free agent signee, DeForest Buckner, will have to come in and own the point of attack. If they can make this game a Baker Mayfield versus Phillip Rivers game, I think they have a chance to win, and it all begins up front in stopping the run. One of the more underrated and probably better matchups you'll see on Sunday involves the Cowboys wide receivers and the Giants secondary. Quietly, this is a very good matchup. You look at the Cowboys receiving core with CeeDee Lamb, the rookie out of Oklahoma, Amari Cooper, and Michael Gallup going up against the Giants secondary that has Logan Ryan, James Bradbury, two solid veterans. They also have a really good corner in Isaac Yiadom, who came over late in the summer and joined the team and played well so far this season. They have a rookie in Darnay Holmes that they really like. So that's going to be the biggest matchup on Sunday in this ball game, and whoever can win consistently will help their team ultimately win the game. But keep an eye on this matchup, as the Cowboys receivers are explosive, they're dynamic, and once they get the football, they can definitely score the ball. But they are facing two good matchup corners in Bradbury and also Logan Ryan. So that's going to be a fun one to watch out there on game day. In the Monday night game between the Saints and Chargers, I look at the two coaches being the biggest matchup in the game, quite honestly, and as head coach Sean Payton for the New Orleans, who's their play caller, and Gus Bradley, who's the defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers. And we know the Chargers personnel is very multiple, they're very athletic, they can match up across the board and find many different ways to also pressure the quarterback. So it'll be up to Sean Payton to find that comfort level with Drew Brees, find some ways to get your playmakers of football and Alvin Kamara, your tight end Jared Cook, even try to bring up Adam Troutman and get him involved. So the chess match between Payton and Bradley, I think, will be the biggest matchup, and whoever wins that matchup will ultimately win the game. Now let's get back to some more game previews, and we'll start in Washington as they play host to Los Angeles. I'm looking forward to seeing how the Rams' offensive line, that run game, really challenges that defensive front of the Washington football team. We know the Rams didn't have the best run game last week against the Giants, so it's going to be up to Goff, that offensive line, to get in the right calls to make sure they can block things up effectively up front. On the defensive side of the football, Ramsey and those corners can probably play a little bit more aggressive against a Washington receiving core that is not the most explosive or dynamic. Plus, they're facing Kyle Allen at quarterback, who is known to turn the ball over. So there should be some opportunities for them to get their hands on a couple of passes on Sunday. And for Washington, again, starting Kyle Allen, probably not the best move for them long term, but hey, that's what they want, and they're going to get what they asked for. Get it because you asked for it. I like the Rams in this ball game. The Buffalo Bills take on the Tennessee Titans, and the Bills come into this game playing some really good football, especially on offense. Josh Allen is working every level of the field in the passing game and is making some impressive throws. Because of that ability, he will have the chance to attack that Titans secondary vertically down the field on Sunday. Now defensively, I'm interested to see how those backers of Buffalo are able to key in on the Titans run game, as I would expect Tennessee to come into a matchup after a week off, trying to get back into the groove by establishing their running game. Now the Titans would also be wise to dial up quick, high percentage throws for their physical wide receivers to be able to catch the football quickly and utilize their run after the catch ability. Defensively, they have to force Allen to stay within that tackle box, not allowing him to extend plays and find guys downfield. I like the Bills in this ball game. They are playing with a really good rhythm, and I do think the layoff for the Titans will have an effect on them in this matchup. Philly travels across the state to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Eagles offense was able to come through in a crucial situation last week against San Francisco. Now the hope for the Eagles is that they can get off to a great start against Pittsburgh, and for me, that starts with them trying to get Miles Sanders more involved within this offense. He's a multifaceted player, and that ability could be a good matchup versus Pittsburgh. It was the defense, though, of the Eagles that truly saved the day for them against San Francisco. Their ability to get to the quarterback and turn the ball over was the difference. So we'll see if they can get to Big Ben on Sunday. Pittsburgh is coming off of a bye week essentially, and will have to get their offense back in rhythm from the jump of this game. I like how we started to see their run game find itself the last couple of weeks, and their passing game has been a direct beneficiary of that run game. So look for Pittsburgh to try to isolate and attack the Eagles' second level in the passing game. Now defensively, with how aggressive they have been as a collective defense, they should be able to find themselves affecting the pocket around Carson Wentz, who is still not playing up to par this season. I do like the Steelers in this ball game. Look for more of a low-scoring defensive battle between these two squads. It's going to be gut check time for the Arizona Cardinals as they travel to New York to take on the Jets. Now, the Cardinals offense hasn't been as consistent as we've seen it earlier in the season. Right now, they're sputtering. Their passing game has been a bit inconsistent, and they're not running the football at a very good clip like they were last year. So all of that has to change. This may be a get-right game for Arizona, but defensively, it's going to be a get-right game because they're facing a quarterback, perhaps in Joe Flacco, that they can affect the pocket around. They can get after him, and that ball is going to come out quick, so expect them to rally up, make the tackle, and get off the field. But for the Jets, we talked about Joe Flacco possibly starting in this game as Sam Darnold dealt with an injury that he suffered against the Denver Broncos on Thursday night. So we'll see a different type of passing offense coming from Adam Gase and his Jets football team. But overall, the Jets just don't have enough firepower to really keep this Cardinals offense at bay and keep that defense from affecting them all throughout the game on offense. Las Vegas takes on their hated rival, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Raiders offense is another one that has found itself battling inconsistency as of late. We talk about a passing game that can work many different options in it, and they have found many different options in the passing game, but for whatever reason, the run game has taken a step back. They're not threatening in that regard, and that has to change. But defensively, I do like how a young defense is still finding themselves around the football. They're still finding themselves making a lot of plays, but they have to make those game-changing plays and stop shooting themselves in the foot. This is a tough task for a team like Las Vegas going to Kansas City, where the Chiefs offense is still playing like it's in midseason form, and defensively, which has been the biggest story of the season in my opinion for Kansas City, is the real reason why they are still undefeated, and another reason why I like them in this game. I'm taking Kansas City. Next up, we have the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Baltimore Ravens, and Cincinnati got their first victory last weekend against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it was a Joe Mixon show as he was running roughshed over that Jaguars defense, and we started to see Joe Burrow find some success going deep down the field. They're going to have to find those big plays, I believe, against Baltimore's defense because we know they can be aggressive. Now, defensively, it's about how you protect the alley, how you protect your gap against the Ravens, because that's how they affect you with their run game. If you can't stay gap sound or gap disciplined, and if you can't protect the alley, you'll struggle. So it's up to those safeties and those outside edge players to have success against the Ravens. Offensively, we saw Lamar Jackson have a bounce back game. Still wasn't his best, but at least he got back on the right track. We'll see if they can have the same type of success in the passing game against the Bengals. Defensively, there's something about this Ravens defense that just doesn't seem quite right, but maybe they can get right against Cincinnati. I do think the pass rush will be a little bit too much for the Bengals. I am taking Baltimore. Jacksonville takes on the Houston Texans, and the Jaguars find themselves in a free fall after their impressive Week 1 victory against Indianapolis. We know they are able to run the football with James Robinson, the impressive undrafted rookie out of Illinois State, but can Gardner Minshew in that passing game finally get on track? They're going to have some opportunities against the Texans defense that doesn't really have that same firepower they did a couple of seasons ago. Now, defensively for Jacksonville, can they affect the pocket around a guy like Deshaun Watson, who will work touchdown to check down? And if they can't get off the field on third downs, it could be a problem for them in this ball game. Now, Houston will be dealing with an interim head coach, a new offensive philosophy, so we'll see how that affects them on offense. But as long as they have number 4 at quarterback, they should be fine. But I'm worried about a defense that doesn't have that same ability to really dictate the terms in a ball game. So you're looking for J.J. Watt to step up. You're looking for that secondary to have a bounce back game, and I think they will. So I'll look for them to get their first win of the season. Carolina heads out to Atlanta to take on the Falcons, and we talked earlier in the video about how the Panthers are playing some of the best ball of the season in a 2-game winning streak. And you look at their offense, they're able to work many different targets. They're getting everyone involved, but it's the defense to me and their improvements over the last 2 games is the reason why they're on this 2-game winning streak, because the offense quietly has been the same all season long. I want to see how Brian Burns and company continue to get after the quarterback and force those turnovers. And for Atlanta, I look at Matt Ryan in that offense. I know Matt Ryan is a very good quarterback, but right now he needs help in that run game. With Ty Gurley, they have to find a way to get involved in this season. Otherwise, they could struggle again. Defensively, they're dealing with a lot of injuries, and we know that can affect the team overall depth-wise, especially in pandemic football. I don't see Atlanta having enough on defense to slow down this Panthers offense.
Well, the game of football has taught me so many things, man. Now, think about the huddle we have right now, right? I tell people this all the time. There's a reason why they call it a huddle. You know, people have been huddling all their lives, trying to find ways to enhance each other's lives. The great teams do that all the time. The great teams do that. The better the huddle, the better the team. And so it's simple, man, how if you huddle for all the right reasons, we wouldn't have Ferguson. We wouldn't have some of the challenges that we have in our society. But as we all know, there's always a moment when somebody doesn't belong in the huddle. And yet we have to continue to move on. We got to continue to play. So the game of life, man, is always starting with the huddle. And for me, I'm lucky enough to know that, by the graces of God, man, it's been a nice huddle. It's been a nice huddle. And if I just keep making sure that he's in front of me, I'm gonna be all right.
I'm a unit, yeah.
When you think about the key parts in ball games and guys that can really turn the tide of a ball game, you're talking about X factors. And here's some of the biggest X factors heading into week 5. Quarterback Carson Wentz has to have a better performance than what he put out there against San Francisco. He was a bit inconsistent, but you like how he was able to fight through that inconsistency and hone in that last quarter and throw that beautiful touchdown pass to Travis Fulgham to help them win that game against the 49ers. But in this matchup against a very aggressive Steelers defense, he's going to have to play his best game in order for that Eagles offense to really have a chance to knock off Pittsburgh. And speaking of the Steelers, I look at Minkah Fitzpatrick being the biggest X factor. You look at what the Eagles try to do to you as a defense. They want to formation you to death. They want to motion you to death. They're going to hit you with RPOs. You need a smart, heady player on the back end to help mitigate through all of that and make plays. And that's what the Steelers have in number 39. Nick Gates of the New York Giants has a huge matchup in this. Nick Gates of the New York Giants being a big X factor against the Cowboys is one to keep an eye on, because if the Giants cannot run the football against a team that has given up a lot of yards on the ground, that could be a problem for their offense. So they're going to need Gates to really hone in, lock in, and create some lanes for whether it's Wayne Gallman or Devonta Freeman. But I think it all starts with Gates, who's entering his first year as their starting center. When you look at the Washington football team, who just benched Dwayne Haskins, I think you have to look at that safety position. Both those guys in that picture, number 30 and number 26, Landon Collins and Troy Apke, have to play better. But we're going to focus on Landon Collins right here, because when you look at what the Rams do well, they want to exploit matchups. They do a great job with their tight ends. That's going to fall right in line with the safeties. They love to run that outside zone. That falls right in line with your safeties playing well in the alley. And we've seen Landon Collins not play his best ball so far this season. So if they want to focus on someone that has to play better and has to improve their game to help their team win, I think they have to look at that safety position, and more in particular, their high-priced free agent in Landon Collins. Now let's get back to previewing some games. We have the Denver Broncos traveling to Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots, and it was a great win for the Broncos and quarterback Brett Rippon, who got his first start of his career and his first victory as an NFL starting quarterback. And the offense did look fine. They were moving the football up and down the field against New York. Rippon did throw 3 interceptions, so it's going to be interesting to see how he's able to combat that and how they're able to call plays to protect him versus Bill Belichick. As we know, he loves to challenge rookie quarterbacks. Defensively, they were getting after the quarterback for the Jets. They were able to stop the run. They forced New York into some disadvantageous situations, and we'll see how that changes, whether or not they're facing Cam Newton or one of the other reserves at that position. That's going to be the biggest key for New England, how they navigate the quarterback situation. They hope to have Cam Newton back, but if they have to go back out there with someone that's not named Cam Newton, I would prefer them go with Jarrett Stidham. He gives them a little bit more upside than Brian Hoyer. And defensively, maybe they can overcome the loss of Stephon Gilmore by adding more pressure up front to get after Brett Rippon. This is going to be a very tough game for New England. I do think they have enough to knock off Denver. It'll be close, but I'm taking the Patriots. The New York Giants travel to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. And when you look at this Giants offense that hasn't been able to score over 20 points yet this season, their offense has been ineffective. The last drive against the Rams, they showed some ability to make some plays quickly in the passing game. You hope that carries over into this matchup against a defense in Dallas that's struggling. So everyone on the offensive side for the Giants has to play better. And if they can do that, they could have some success in this game. This is a get-right game for their offense, it looks like on paper. And defensively, it's going to be about getting pressure on Dak Prescott, and on the back end, being able to cover those excellent trio of receivers that they have at their disposal. Dallas's offense is not the problem so far this season. Yes, they're turning the ball over, but they are able to move the football at ease, whether it's with the run game or with their passing game. They're finding options all over the field, and they can have some success. Now, their offensive line is a little bit banged up with Joe Looney being out, but keep an eye on Tyler Beatis. I think he's an excellent prospect that can help this offense continue to be what they've been so far this season defensively. It goes without saying, everyone has to play better. Aldon Smith is doing a great job. He's playing like their best defensive lineman, but this could also be a get-right game for the Cowboys defense going up against an ineffective Giants offense that struggles to score points. So I do see the Cowboys taking care of business. Their offense will help set the table, and their defense will do a great job in keeping Daniel Jones and that offense ineffective. Miami takes on San Francisco, and maybe we'll see Tua Tagovailoa, even though it was already announced that Ryan Fitzpatrick is the starter. Will he finish the game as a starter will be the biggest question. So we'll just have to see, but their offense really needs something to help give them that jump start. And on the defensive side of the football, if they can't stop the run game, we know San Francisco does a great job of getting a lot of people involved in the run game. They could struggle mightily in this ball game out on the road. For the 49ers, coming off of a very tough loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, you like what you saw out of Brandon Ayuk. You like what you saw out of all of their receivers and tight ends. Again, they use a lot of people in the run game, and being that versatile, flexible offense creates problems. And defensively, facing an ineffective quarterback, to me, will be the biggest story and the biggest reason why I think San Francisco can go in and knock out Miami. I really like this matchup we have here between the Colts and the Browns, and Indianapolis has a tough challenge on their hands because they're going to have to make sure they keep Phillip Rivers protected in the pocket. Although they do have a great offensive line, the Browns do a great job of applying pressure throughout the course of a game, and Rivers has to make sure to protect the football. So we may see a lot of Jonathan Taylor early and often against the Browns. Defensively, I love how they're playing. Xavier Rhodes has had a bounce back season, and he'll probably match up against Odell Beckham Jr. throughout the course of a game. For Cleveland, we talked about their run game. We talked about their offensive line with Jedrick Wills doing a great job at left tackle. And if they can continue to stay run-based, play-action passing type offense, they're going to have a lot of success. Defensively, Myles Garrett's playing his best ball, and I do think the Browns have a unique opportunity here to get a victory. I like them over the Colts. I'm taking Cleveland. Sunday Night Football has a great matchup between Minnesota and Seattle. The Vikings are coming off their first victory of the season, thanks in part to Dalvin Cook's ability to run the football. He's the leading rusher in the NFL, and he's a game-changing type back, and they're going to have to run the offense through him if they want to have a chance. Defensively, it's all about making sure you have someone lockstep with Russell Wilson all throughout the course of a game. That's going to fall on the shoulders of Eric Kendricks, the Mike linebacker, and making sure he keeps a key on what Wilson does in the passing game. If not, they're going to find big plays deep down the field to DK Metcalf. They're going to find David Moore. They're going to find Tyler Lockett. The Seahawks have a lot of deep threats on that offense that are able to change that score pretty quickly. And defensively for Seattle, I like how they match up on the outside versus the taller, physical wide receivers of Minnesota. I think defensively, they'll do a great job in keeping this offense one-dimensional. I like Seattle. And Monday Night Football has the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the New Orleans Saints, and the Chargers are getting great play from their rookie first-round pick, Justin Herbert, who's looked outstanding so far in the games that he had to start in replace of Tyrod Taylor. The only thing he has to do now is protect the football, because there's a turnover that happens at a crucial, critical point of a game that he has to clean up. Defensively, I love what they bring from a pressure standpoint. They're athletic. They can match up across the board at the second and third level. So this will be a huge challenge for the Saints offense that's looking to get back to their explosive ways. I know we saw them do a great job against Detroit, fight back through a 14-0 deficit to score 35 straight points. But this is a different animal, different coach, a better defense, and we'll see how they're able to overcome that against Los Angeles. And defensively, they're facing a rookie quarterback, so you can expect a guy like Cam Jordan and company to be really in key to the pressure as far as making Herbert uncomfortable. They're really going to have to get back there and get him, because he has an arm to work touchdown to check down. I like New Orleans in this ball game. I think this will be a challenge for a young quarterback. I do like the Saints defensive line against that Chargers offensive front and frustrating the pocket for Herbert. So that's it for this edition of Football Game Plan's NFL All 32. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts, and don't forget to check out and subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan. Also subscribe on iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating.
It's DUE, you tell I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.